Hi guys, let me know if you can hear me. The weird sound in the mic was echo purring. I can do it again. So, hi Citholina and Calamity Jit and Josephina and Otto. I don't know if you can see her up. Ok, t'es bon? C'est correct? I'd be quite surprised if you had a snake that would purr like that. Hi Ashley! Oh, okay, I'll get the purr machine back. Good. Hmm? It's okay. Alright, she's gone again. I will record her on the loop for you. Whoa. I think she wants some loving. Some scritches and petting. Alright. And now my face is full of cat hair. Okay, so what I want to do today is that I've been working on the slab this morning. I've been painting one of the, not painting, but mulling one of the difficult pigment, Prussian green. Not because it's not a complex recipe or anything, but Prussian blue is kind of annoying color to mull. So I did that this morning, I finished, but I didn't really want I did not really want to wash all this paint away, so I figured I would use this as a base and perhaps add some white pigment on this and see what kind of color we would get, and then go from there and still using white pigment, see if I can salvage some of the older mixes I have. So I have this this attempt at making a sap green that didn't really turn out well. So I was considering perhaps mixing that with white, seeing if the white could balance out the problems with the paint. Most watched video on YouTube incoming, Pico Purr Loop. Well, that could be cute. She's definitely a loud motor. She's still there. She's just out of reach, and when I pet her, she just wags her tail, so I'm annoying her basically. But that's okay. She deserves to be annoyed. All right, so that's the plan. I got this that I haven't washed. It's kind of a bothersome pigment to wash off as well, because it really likes to get into the frosted surface of the glass. So it's lovely. I love it, and I will never stop making it. But every time I have to make this this mix, I'm always like, oh, why? And yeah, the other colors I've mixed yesterday are right next to the side. I think there was some questions about that, but I can come around to it later. Adding white will indeed make the color more in the pastel range of colors. Not something that I mind, because I quite like using pastel-y color, except especially mint and like coral. So I got all my gear set up still. It's around the glass slab, so if you can't see, that's why. And I have a bucket of white here. So yeah. I also have, in fact, I would appreciate if Peko could walk out, but it's white, it's not the worst, but I have my mask too. So if you hear me going silent or mumbling incomprehensibly, that's because I have this thing on just for the time that I'm working with the powdered pigment. Wouldn't washing it off into plastic box and letting the water evaporate out of it help? It would, but that would require, oh, see, Pico has left me a couple of gifts there, but it would require like a huge basin and cat-free space to let it evaporate, which are two things that I don't have. So sometimes I will do a print. Hold on, just getting rid of cat hairs. But like, this is an example of what I mean by a print. This was the Vivianite I mixed yesterday. And it's such a beautiful pigment, and it's so pricey that I didn't want to just rinse off the slab. So I sprayed water on it and then printed a sheet of watercolor paper on it. So that's something that I will sometimes do. But then I end up with a lot of prints of colors that I don't really know what to do with, so... the white is PW6, titanium white. Hi, KB Simmer. Okay, so mask goes on. I will try to remove Peko from around here. Hold on. Because I don't really like to work in this room with the cats when I'm working pigment. Did you get... Meow, come and say meow. Say goodbye to the people. Are you? Okay, Peko is going for a nap. Alright. Yeah, blue ochre is Vivianite, as far as I can tell. So, mask. No, she was not really happy that I sort of pushed her away. I don't know if you heard the little meow she did, but she wanted to stay around doing nothing. This is not great. Oh no, she's coming back. I hate this thing. Whew. Holy crap. Okay, sorry. Oh, hi Cyan, you didn't miss much. I just started. So yeah, the idea was that I would try to salvage colors either from the slab, because I mixed Prussian green earlier today. That's the dark color you see on the back here. And technically I would have washed this off or do a couple more batch, but since it's a color that's a bit hard on the arm to work, I wasn't too excited about that prospect. So I figured that, I hope the camera doesn't get too wobbly, but I figured I would try to see if I could create a new color by just molding white on top of the blue base, with the blue-green base. So it's definitely going to be more blue than green with the white. And go from there and always add white as a base to whatever's on the slab, and then see the color I get. And I've also got a couple of failed color experiments here that I will try to salvage using white. So yeah, that's the setup here. The white is kind of lumpy. Let me know if the camera is like unbearably wobbly when I mold. It's a bit difficult to control the motion of it. Oh cool, no shaking, awesome. So yeah, let me know if you have any questions, if you... it doesn't have to be about making paint, but... yeah. Oh, hi Heather! Welcome! She's back! Pico is back! I don't know what she wants. The scout is sleeping soundly. But Pico is being a brat. Does the white help to salvage the pigment, not letting it be so crusty? It's not about being crusty as much as the fact that I can use the base I would have had to wash out to create a new color. I might not be able to ever reproduce this color perfectly, but instead of washing off the dark blue color that was there, this way I can sort of save the pigment. And hopefully, like if I don't have to wash my equipment as much, a lot less of the stuff will end up also in the water supply in a way. And I think Prussian blue is not a great one to have in the water supply. So by doing this, yeah, it's kind of a truly eco-friendly endeavor, I guess. If the color works out fine, of course I will list the color on the shop. My basic idea with the shop is that I wanted to make my own paints, but you won't easily make only one pan's worth of paint. That's not, unless you get something as expensive as Vivianite. You end up with more than one pan, and I don't have use for more than one, so I sell the extra, and that helps me with covering the price of pigments and equipment. The muller is the most expensive tool you need, I think. Like the glass slab I got at a window making shop, something really basic. They were a bit surprised when I showed up and I said, hey, would you guys be able to sell me a 12 by 12 slab of glass? And they were like, yeah, sure, no problem. And they cut it right away and they sell it to me on the spot, so that was easy. The muller was $65 Canadian. And the pigments, they are all varying in price. Like some will be more expensive, like Vivianite again. Others, they will be very affordable. And then you have to check for the solution to mix the color. Some people will create their own solution from gum arabic, glycerin and honey and clove oil. For me, it was really easy to just buy sort of a solution pre-made, so all my energy really goes into this here, mulling the colors. Yeah, Pico wants to keep me company. Could you save the pigment without adding white? That's a bit more difficult. What I usually do to save as much pigment as possible is that I will do multiple batch of the same color. Like I will do a first batch of Prussian green, then when it's ready I will pack it up, and then I will do another on the same base. And I will do as many as I can until I have something else to do, or my arm is hurting, sorry. Like if it gets too painful, I will stop. But that saves me from wasting this base layer multiple times, since I can do multiple batch on the same base and I don't have to wash it off. I don't know if you guys understand what I mean. But otherwise, if I'm done with a painting session and I'm at the point where I need to rinse off my equipment, I don't think there is much I can do to salvage the base. I can do the prints, like I said, and hopefully turn the print into like a painting, an underpainting, or something else. I will sometimes use them as either swatch cards when I sell the paints, or kind of business card. Like I cut them up into a smaller size and I can write my details on them. Spray of water to soften glycerin. I don't use glycerin. I don't think I'm not sure what my water-based gum arabic solution has, but it only says that it's their concentrated solution of gum arabic in small batches to make sure of the quality, and that it contains 5% of preservatives to ensure the preservation of the stuff, but it doesn't mention glycerin or oils, and it doesn't smell anything. Oops. If I had the space, I would really enjoy a larger glass slab, because I've made the mess quite a few times. I will test this color now. Checking up. Paula is saying, Eve, lots of things to do with leftover pigment on your slab. Like you have already done, can make monoprints, but can vary the outcome by spritzing water. Yeah, mica spray, inks to add dimension. Yeah, that's true. That's true. So to just test the color, I grabbed the same mold brush you see in all my videos. Just mix it and just put it on. Is that? Yeah, that's an. Seems to be decently opaque when wet. That was Pecco. Yep, that was Pecco too. See, the kind of the longest thing is waiting for the swatch to dry so I can test the color for pigment and binder strength. Because I could keep mulling, but it's also great to take a couple of breaks because my arm eventually hurts. So yeah. I often try to have something else to do at the same time that I do this, because you sort of have to take breaks. The muller looks like it must be heavy. How difficult is that to control? Yeah, it is a couple, maybe a couple of pounds, because it's glass. It's a local glassmith artisan. Anyway, it's locally made by a Montreal artist, which I think is pretty great. But it's not so bad to work, because you shouldn't have too many resistance when you're mulling. Like, if the paint is too thick that it's making a lot of resistance, that's probably because it's not the best texture to work it. So you're better off adding some water to the mix to make it a bit easier on you. I think it's just that you kind of have to, well, I don't know if you have to, but I know I end up pressing down a lot sometimes, especially finger in the paint, especially when it's a more difficult pigment like Prussian. Like, you kind of want to get rid of the lumps, so I end up pressing really hard, and that's the hardest part. But otherwise it glides well on the paint. It's really not that bad. Then again, I don't have a very large muller. It's more on the small side. I think I forgot some equipment in the bathroom. I'll be right back. Okay. Okay, question. How do you know when the paint has finished mulling? This is why I test it. Because unless it's a paint I've mulled before, usually I try to mull until it's smooth, there's not any lumps in it. And then I make a swatch like you saw me do. And when the swatch is dry, I pick up some paper tissue and I gently rub the paint to see if there's any pigment that is gonna remove itself from the swatch. I want all the pigment to stay bound to the paper. So if I rub my paper towel and there is some pigment on the paper towel, that means that either I haven't molded enough the paint or it needs more binder. So I adjust the recipe, I mold again, and then I do another swatch and test it again. I don't know if that answers the question. Heather is asking, do you use a flat razor to scrape the glass and get what the palette knife doesn't? I don't. The palette knife usually does a good job of picking up everything. Like it might not look like it does because there seems to be a lot of color left on the glass, but there's really not that much. There's basically what is stuck in the frosted surface, and I don't think the razor blade would help me pick up what's in the frosted surface. I don't answer the question fast enough. Hold on. Okay. Oh, still not. Okay. Yeah, Pico is my supervisor, though she's left. She's gone to nap on her chair. Finally. Paula is suggesting to use the monoprints to cut them up to make thank you or birthday cards or handmade business cards. And she says you can write on the cards with a silver or gold metallic pen or brush pen. Yeah, it's a bit like jelly printing, except that it's a glass surface, so you don't get the give of the jelly plate, but you're still monoprinting. Yeah, Erin is saying that they love adding glycerin to their watercolors, but they live in Arizona, so it's probably a hot and dry climate thing. Yep, could be. Paula is asking, how do you tell when you have enough pigment to binder ratio? It's the swatch test, like I said. You swatch the color, you let it dry completely, and then you rub it off with a paper towel to see if the pigment stays on the paper or if it transfers to the paper towel. If it transfers, means there's not enough binder, and if everything stays on the paper, means you're good. If the swatch, if the pigment stays on the paper but the paint is shiny, then perhaps you have a bit too much binder. Heather is asking, does the weight of the molar help so you don't have to use as much muscle power to push it down? I think it is. I think I'm sort of, I forget about it and I end up pressing hard when I want to, but I don't think I have to press really that hard. And the bigger the molar, the heavier it gets, so. Would a toothbrush help release some of the pigment from the glass? It does, but at that point it's when you're washing it. So yeah, I often use toothbrush and brush, and unfortunately the thing that works best to wash off the final residue that's stuck in the frosted surface is my fingers. So when I've removed almost all pigment, but it still looks like there's some color there, I will rub with my fingers. Soap helps. Sometimes rubbing alcohol will help as well to remove the pigment that's stuck in the glass. Okay, I think I've got up mostly. Awesome. I don't know who Patrick is. I don't want to step on his toe. This is like an an impromptu live, so if you guys prefer to go for Patrick's, that's okay with me. What is the hardest pigment paint you've experienced making thus far? Well, when I tried to do some kind of sap green, that was a pain in the butt, because it was a phthalo green and a transparent yellow ochre, and both paints don't play nice. So when you got them both together, it just makes some sort of hell paint that just doesn't want to work. So that was annoying. Prussian blue is annoying as well. It's not the worst. This is Prussian blue. Well, it's my Prussian green, the base. So it's Prussian blue and Benzimi Desolone yellow. That was the base I had, and I just put some white pigment on it to try and salvage the blue base. That's what happened here. Yeah, Prussian blue is pretty awesome. Zoe asks, did you test it for fading? No, I haven't. I did some time ago test some of my colors. Prussian blue is a color that fades. Regardless of the brand of paint, it's a pigment that fades in the light, so there's no way around that. As for the rest, on my test for transparency, not for transparency, for light fastness, I had a couple of more earthy colors like Spanish gold ochre and like the browns, and everything else doesn't budge at all. It's all pretty light fast. But yeah, Prussian blue is not a light fast color at all. Sorry. So this is not fully dried yet, but it's getting there. I've noticed that often the white, like PW6, when I do mixes with white, that's when the color will get a bit more shiny, like the finish. But it doesn't seem to be a binder thing. I think in this case it's more a pigment thing. Yeah, with a smooth glass surface you can use a razor to clean it up, and that's super nice. But since this is frosted under there, it doesn't show because there's paint all over the frosted surface, but there's it's frosted so that it molds the paint better. Like it's slightly abrasive, so with the molar it squishes everything to make smooth paint. So the razor blade would not help me in this case. Have you tried the Mr. Clean Magic Eraser to get the final residue of the glass? No, I haven't. I should try it because I found some Mr. Clean Magic Eraser in my stash. That must have been there forever. But yeah. Why not use a silicone spatula? It works awesome with cake, so why not with this creamy awesomeness? Could work. I have a few, I've just never used them yet because I haven't found a situation in which I needed it. It's mostly like the metal palette knife, they work fine. And yeah, that's usually all I need. Like, it has the advantage of being really thin, and like the surface of the edge is really small, so it really scrapes off the paint really well. Oh, hold on, that's the doorbell. All right. Sorry about that. Whew. Yeah, supposedly Prussian blue comes back to its original color when put into a dark place for some time, but the people who've tried it so far seem to say that it doesn't really work. I haven't tried, maybe I should. Oh, hi Mary. I haven't answered that question already. Did you find out all these things by yourself and trying different things, or did you also use some literature? It was mostly trying by myself and making plenty of mistakes. And I tried a couple of things, and I tried to find like tutorials about making paints online, but there aren't that many. And some of them are focused more on oil. Watercolor, there wasn't that many resources, so I tried things until I learned a bit more about that stuff. And it's a bit, you know, trial and error. You try something and it doesn't work, and you try to understand why it doesn't work. And that might lead you to understand something new and to help with future colors as well. Oh, Cyan, that's so cool! I'm glad that you decided to get a wood burning tool. It's really cool. It's not a... Well, I have a long sleeve under there, but that's why I have these sleeve protectors. It's cold! It's still not very warm around here, so... of course I'm wearing long sleeves. You achieved the frosted surface when you first got the Muller, right? Isn't that when you made a video with that awful ear-piercing nails on a chalkboard? Yep. Oh, you don't want me to share the noise that the frosting process makes. It's unbearable. It's literally like having sand and another glass piece and then rubbing sand on two glass surfaces at the same time until both of them become frosted. The Muller was slightly frosted already, but I still had to prepare it. So you're basically frosting both surfaces at the same time. I'm using this here. This is like metal grit. It's called carborundum. And you put a bit on the glass and you put water and then you die. It's unbearable. Even the cats were distressed. It was awful. And supposedly you have to do this every once in a while to like to keep up the surface being like frosty enough, and I'm like, yeah, this only if it gets like super smooth will I ever do this again. It wasn't fun. It really wasn't fun. You have to do it because you have to mold you have to frost the glass. Someone said that perhaps I could have asked the window place if they could frost it for me. I don't know a lot about glasses and you know, this kind of glass, so I don't know how possible or how well it would work. If it works, I mean, all the way, do that. Save yourself the trouble of trying to do this thing the usual way. It's really unpleasant. Catching up on the chat. Oh no. I'm really glad that this community on YouTube is pretty nice. You guys are all pretty awesome, so I'm kind of always stunned when I hear stories about other art crafting communities that are not nice. So I'm like, you're missing the whole point. Be nice or go home. Okay, that looks like it's dry enough. So, paper towel, the swatch you saw me paint, and I'm just gonna see, pretty good. There is nothing on my paper, like literally nothing. So this means that this color has a good enough ratio of binder to pigment. It's a tiny bit shiny, as you can see, but then again, this is like super thick application of the paint, whereas the surface that corresponds more to regular application is appropriately matte. So since this is good, I'm gonna put it in the jar and move on to next salvage mix or something. Alright, hold on. Another thing I would mention that is perhaps relevant to some of you is that working paint, well, if you have a setup similar to mine, you might end up being standing rather than seated, so keep that in mind. It can be a bit difficult on the legs, so if you have one of these floor, you know, the kind of mats that are soft and cushiony for standing, it might be a good idea to use it or to get one so that you spare your legs some stress. I should get one. Sorry. What color is this? This is a mix of titanium white and Prussian green. It ended up looking a lot like Prussian blue because when you add white to a color, it cools it off. So by cooling the color, I sort of made the yellow part of the color really subtle. So I poured a pan to check it, and I will put the rest in a container. There is sometimes a problem with the pans as they cure. Like when you make the paint on the slab, it looks fine, it swatches fine, but it doesn't dry fine. So to help work with that, I've come up with this way of making sort of a test pan to see how a small amount of the paint dries. And since I keep the rest of it wet, I can add some minor tweaks. If it was too dry, I could add a bit more honey or a bit more gum arabic to make it crack less. You could add glycerin if that's your thing, but like I've mentioned, I don't really like to use glycerin. It's nothing against glycerin, and if you like to use glycerin, that's fine. But I think I have some issues just with the texture of this stuff. Like it's been in creams and stuff for dry skin, and since I have dry skin, I don't like the feel of glycerin on my skin, so I kind of don't like. I have this sort of bad feel about glycerin in general. It's absolutely not based on anything other than it feels icky on my skin. Holly Bean. Oh, Otto is saying that it looks a lot like the retired Holbein color blue-gray. They made but a bit lighter. Yeah. So how is this different from gouache? It might not be very different from gouache in this case because this is with white. And that's sometimes the thing they do when they want to make these pastel shades of gouache, is that they will put white in it. So yeah, there's not... I should try it for transparency. Before I add some more onto this. These color, well, this is not the proper ballpoint pen for that because it acts as a resist. Okay, let's try again. The thing is that the opaque colors with as they dry, they usually become a bit more transparent. But so far it seems to be fairly opaque. It's mostly white, so that certainly explains it. Alright, so putting the mask back on, so you won't hear much from me for the next few minutes. This paint with the white is probably a bit more light fast, but since it has Prussian blue, it probably will fade a bit. The blue fade. The white will not fade, but the blue pigment that's in the white will probably fade a bit. Yeah. Oh. Oh, I can breathe. So this is exactly the same process as I did just before. Since my white is super lumpy, I'm trying to remove some of the lumps with the spatula. It's a bit easier to break up the bigger lumps with this. I don't know why. Paula is asking, will this chat be retrievable when the live stream is over? I will leave it if everyone is okay with that, and if it's not full of inappropriate stuff. But yeah, the Darth Vader noises was me trying to breathe through the mask. Okay. So about the white pigments in general, there are two most common white pigments when making watercolors. One is PW4, which is zinc white, and one is PW6, which is titanium white. Zinc white is also called sort of the transparent white because it is not as opaque as titanium white. So they will often put it into sets so that people want to lighten colors but not necessarily make them fully opaque can use zinc white or Chinese white. It's not everyone who finds the use for it. I don't really use it all that much. I prefer to use water to make my colors lighter, but I guess some people use Chinese white for things. And that's why there is this pigment. What I have here is PW6, titanium white, the more opaque of the two. I wanted the more opaque pigment because originally I wanted to make to see if I could make really opaque white paint, and that did not really pan out super well. Perhaps it would be better now since I'm a bit more experienced, but yeah, back then it wasn't any more opaque than something you would get from Amgram or like white gouache. I don't know if you can see, but the frostiness of the glass is easier to see now, and that means that I've probably removed most of the Prussian pigment from the frosted surface. This is kind of a bit boring. What do you guys think? I apologize for the unpleasant noises. It's kind of a slightly off-white, but not necessarily in a very interesting way. So I'm thinking that perhaps I should add one of the failed colors into this mix and see what happens. Inappropriate? None is appropriate here. We are full of love. That's because Heather is BR being. Heather is our troublemaker. Oh, you guys are talking Escoda brushes. I gotta sneak in a word for my my Ultimo homies. Ultimo is the fake squirrel brush by Escoda, and it's really nice. Yeah, Paula, that's a good tip about the mask. I'm just really not used to it. It's brand new. I would use these silly things before. It's better than nothing, of course, but it's not the same kind of it doesn't cut the air as well as the other mask. It's not Optimo, it's Ultimo. Ta-da! It's probably blurry on the camera or whatnot, but it's Ultimo. It's fake squirrel, so it's really nice and it works really well. Okay, so yeah, do you guys think I should add some more color into this? It's kind of... is it boring? It's kind of a light, very light blue-gray. Not all Ultimos are that huge. I picked up the biggest one so it will be easier to read the type on it. But yeah, they go from size 1 to size a lot. The one I showed was a 18, but it's not the biggest one. You guys seem to like the pale blue. Perhaps I should try it. It will possibly be a bit darker. Oh, it's nice. I don't know if... yeah, it's kind of washed out on camera, but it is a nice light blue. I feel like I'm doing, you know, the paint strips when you go to the hardware store and they sell the house paints, and they have all these strips of colors from light to darker, and it feels like I'm doing the same with this process. I could have passed my white pigment through a sieve if I wanted to like work the clumps out prior to putting the pigment on the slab, but it's messy. So if I had like a dedicated studio space that was a bit more efficiently made, this is something I would consider doing more because the lumps are annoying. It's like the muller doesn't really work on them as well as I wish it did, or I am impatient and I have really weak arms. You know, us artists, strong people, we can lift things like brushes and a cart full of paint, but that's about it. Is the frosted glass same as using a marble slab? I am not sure because I've never used a marble slab. I think it's gotta be fairly similar, but yeah, I'm only guessing. I've never used it. Glass was a lot more affordable to me than marble. Even if I looked at like surfaces like cutting boards that are marble, people were commenting that there were cracks in them, or that the surface was not perfect, and I don't think a crack in the surface, even if they filled it, I don't think it will work fine with watercolors and mulling. I think you have more chances of splitting your slab in half than getting good stuff done. I think that some people work with a surface that is not frosted. I think it will get frosted anyway at some point, because the more you rub stuff on it, it will eventually get frosted anyway. But yeah, probably takes a bit more time to work the paints, since there is not the abrasive bottom surface. Yeah, marble is heavy too, that's right. If I make this a shimmer paint, every paint after would be a shimmer paint. So I might not do this at the moment. The blue is nicer on paper, and it's a bit, this is lighter than the finished result, but it's kind of a nicer blue on paper than it is just on the slab, perhaps because I've got all these other blues around it. So I'm guessing that this one I will leave it as is, and perhaps the next batch with white I will add some of the sap green in it. Doesn't seem to be many lumps left in this one. Seems to be pretty smooth. So if the swatch is fine as far as binder goes, this color would be ready to put in a pot, I guess. A water break. Oh, I didn't know that Kremer had Aquazol, because I thought that was proprietary to Core. Okay, so while this swatch dries, these are the colors I mixed yesterday. So I mixed some more salmon because people were asking about it. These are not mixed yesterday, but I was testing the colors of, the two failed sap greens. The application is really not so great with these. This was the Vivianite. Like, the first test with the Vivianite is really rougher, but then it smoothed down quite fast. This is the Iceland set of pigments from Kremer. The red, the yellow, and the green. I won't say the name because they're like a foot long and I will mangle them really badly. But these four had been on my wish list for a while and I decided I would get them. Though there will probably not be any Vivianite or any of these in the shop because the amounts of pigments are really, really small. Like Vivianite, it was 10 grams. That's nothing. Like it made for just it would probably make like 1 half pan and a half. 1 half pan and a half pan of paint. It's really not a lot, and it was really quite pricey. The other colors are a bit better in terms of quantity for price, but then again they're really special. So I gotta see how they dry and if my recipe worked fine with these pigments. But yeah, the salmon will be in the shop, of course, and I have some Spanish gold ochre also that's gonna be in the shop when I update. Cyan, is the Aquazol liquid or is it a powder? I don't know what happened to my other tissue, but we're gonna test the light blue. Yeah, again, no lifting of pigment, so that means the ratio is decent enough. So that means I can pan it, pot it, and try something new. It's gonna be weird to put these paints on the shop because, well, not too bad with these because they're like, there's the white pigment and then there's the pigment from the Prussian green. But if I start adding more just in there to have fun, it's gonna be like 1 billion pigment paint. Or perhaps we'll just end up with some kind of a brown, though I doubt it, because to end up with brown I would have to add in a red pigment at some point, and so far there is nothing that has red in it. There's blue, yellow, green, so yeah. This is gonna make it so much easier to wash the glass slab when I'm done later today, because white is much easier to wash than Prussian blue. And there, potted. I know that means I gotta put on the mask again. I will try to take deep breaths. Makes me laugh that the filters are like super bright pink. At least the mask is not pink. Darth Vader is back. Am I Darth E. Vader? Like E. Vader? I don't know. Well, I don't know if you guys can hear me. Maybe that's a good place to start. Ugh. Yeah, taking deep breath was really much better. Do I know the micron size of the filters? Do I? It says, where does it say so in English? It says NIOSH approved P100. At least 99.97% filtration efficiency against solid and liquid aerosols, including oils. Yeah. Okay. I don't know if you guys can see all the lumps in the white, but it's really, really lumpy. Good thing that it's not difficult to break up the lumps though. Like some paints will look like they are lumpy, but it's in fact like the piece of pigment that it's bigger, so you have to grind it more. I've had some pigments that felt a bit like grinding sand, sorry. Fortunately, when that happens, it doesn't last for long, because at some point you're gonna grind down the particles to a smaller size, and they're not gonna screech against the glass so much. Oh, so 0.3 microns or larger. I think that's not bad, isn't it? I think that's not bad, like I know what I'm talking about, but yeah. Okay, I'm gonna use this sap green, the first version I did, because it was the nicer. This was the first version, and this was the second one. This one is a nicer color. So we're gonna put a bit of that into the white. Yikes. It really wants to get in there. It's making a mess. And as you can see, the white pretty much swallowed it up. Thanks, Cithalina. Apparently the 0.3 microns is really good. Health-wise, I'll be protected from tuberculosis. Awesome. So I think I can add a lot more green into this. I've had paints in these pots for like months. Really, like a long time, and still it doesn't smell anything different than it did when I made it. It smells a bit of honey because there's honey in my paints, but yeah, no mold, no nothing weird. It is still picking up some of the the colors around, which I think makes for a fun process of mixing color, because you can have happy accidents, as our friend Bob Ross would say. So yeah, the oops, cat hair. The Prussian green color that was the base for all of this is completely transparent. But of course, as I added white to the mix, it became more and more opaque. So should I add more green into this? It's very light pistachio green. Oops. More green. I don't want to add too much though, because I'm worried that it will have the same problem as I had drying this paint if I had too much green in it. But I think I can safely add a few more. Spatula worth of it. Palette knife. Yeah, it looks like the color of pistachio ice cream, that's true. That was the sound of the molar catching on the frosted surface. It happens. Like if the surface is too dry, the molar is gonna catch on it and skip. And that's not pleasant. Might end up with your hand in the paint too, like skip and you like this. You can see here that the dark blue is fairly opaque. We can barely see the black line I put underneath. Not bad. I am not making a pastel palette on purpose, but if I am trying to... I figured I would try to salvage colors with white, because I know that the white pigment is a fairly stable one that dries well. So if I have problematic pigments that don't dry well, I thought that perhaps if I turn the colors into a pastel version, the white is gonna balance out the problems with the full color version. So I won't have to put all of this in the garbage. Ugh, wasabi ice cream, ugh. Is that a thing? Maybe green tea ice cream would be more like inspiring. Like matcha ice cream. Matcha. I love how fresh matcha is bright green. Such a nice color. Oh, really? Oh. I did not even know it was a thing. Otto is saying that wasabi ice cream is actually really nice. That it doesn't taste wasabi-ish much, just this freshness. Is it made from the genuine wasabi root? Because most of the wasabi we have here is this horseradish, mustard, green dye mix that has not a lot of real wasabi in it, so I am not sure if I've tasted real wasabi ever. Wasabi. There was a fun French movie titled Wasabi. Oh, wow. So Otto is saying that it is made from real wasabi. Wasabi, I keep saying it with this weird accent, but real wasabi, again, because the one they tried was in a Japanese wasabi farm. Wow. Like, I hope I get to try real wasabi root one day, because it's really nice. It's this green root, like when they peel it off, it's really green underneath. So the color of the stuff that we see here that is not real wasabi is it's trying to mimic the natural color of the thing, which I think is pretty great. It's green. I mean, that's awesome. It's a bit like when you peel a turmeric root. It is bright yellow, or a beet is bright red, purplish red. Or a carrot. How a carrot is orange is pretty awesome. But I always find that peeling like something that looks like it's brown and then discovering color inside is always so interesting. Same with potatoes. I'm kind of bummed now that they probably don't make wasabi ice cream without actual cream in it. Like, if they make it with soy or something, I hope I get to try it. Yeah, blood grapefruit, blood oranges as well. There's a type of, I think it happens with yuzu sometime, but there's a type of citrus that's green on the outside and bright orange on the inside. So that's kind of great. Or like just opening a watermelon and it's a yellow one. That's kind of always a surprise. So let's try this wasabi ice cream color. Oh, it's nice. It really looks like milk in a matcha, like a matcha latte. Matcha latte. As someone who quite enjoys these tints, this color mixed with white, especially for illustration work, because sometimes I'm like, I want this character to have a mint green shirt, so I go for the color mixed with white, because it doesn't really change much the fact that it's mixed with white when it's for an illustration. Like, it's not I don't plan on layering, I don't plan on lifting or anything, so I just go for the color I want. And I'm really glad that with making my own paints, I can also make my own colors, my own pastel colors, because not all brands offer them. Like, even for Daniel Smith, they introduced what, 2 pastel colors only last year, but before that I don't think they had that many. Japanese paints like Holbein and Kusakabe have them, and I'm always looking for them because I like these colors, so I'm super glad that I can make my own. I did the coral color, I did the mint color, and I know this is not really planned recipes, but I'm really having fun making these these colors. Hopefully they will dry nicely. That's always the big stressful moment, is when you let the pans dry. But since I keep them in a pot, if they don't dry well, I might look into ways of keeping them in a tube rather than a pan. And since these are not like malachite, anyway, the color that corroded badly, just trying to remove the last of the lumps of white in there. It's really important to swatch the colors, because when I look at this, I don't see the same color as when I swatch it. Like, because of the colors around this and the backdrop and everything, this looks really lighter than it is when I put it on white paper. So it can be really misleading to just look at the color. And also, this is watercolor, so as you know, the colors will change when they dry. So to me, like, when you put them right next to one another, it's not so bad, but this is still not the same as this. Like, still different. So that's why I always keep paper, and I've used up a lot of paper for that, but I think it's a mandatory step in trying a paint that you're making, so you can see the real color it is on paper. I'm gonna grab the squeaky chair, so I'm old and these legs are tired. Oh, sorry. Oh, hey, Tsukabu. We're both old, I guess, Otto. We are team old people. We are like spring lambs. Do you guys want me to open the box that was delivered earlier just to fill in the waiting time? Like, the green swatch is half dry, and I don't think there's many lumps left for me to smooth out. Okay, I will get. So no, it's more like I was on my feet the whole day, and I usually am not on my feet the whole day because I am an artist and I sit on my butt. So yeah, of course, this package that got here is, to a big shocking surprise, art supplies. Ta-da! Let's see what's in there. Huh. Did I get the wrong thing? Oh, I think I got the wrong thing. Oh well. So I wanted to get more of the watercolor paper I use for making my swatches, but the listing was a bit confusing on the website, and I think I ordered the 200 GSM instead of the 300 GSM. And this is 40 sheets instead of 60. It was less expensive as well, so there's that, but I don't know how this 200 GSM paper will work out. If it's terrible for swatching, I will turn it into paper for the handmade paint swatch cards like this. I tried to include these with the orders so that people know the colors they got, and I had like pigment name and information on the back. But this is like 90 pounds and it's perfect. So if the 200 GSM is bad for what I wanted to do with it, I will use it for something else. I mean, it's still Fabriano paper, so it's gonna be okay for the quality, but yeah. Okay. Oh yeah, I got the PBO drawing gum because people have been talking about it, and I was like, I haven't used this in forever because I used it like, what, 15-20 years ago, but since then I didn't use it, and I keep seeing people saying that it's it doesn't smell anything, and like, I had this memory that the one I used before was really stinky, and I was like, this is weird. And also it works fine, but I was curious to try it again to see if it smells. And also it has rubber latex in it, so it's not for everyone. I think even I am sensitive to latex, so I gotta be careful with that. Okay, let's smell. Oh, it's disgusting. Yuck. It smells like dead fish and plastic. Yep, stinky. That's okay, my brain is working. Ugh, good grief. Yuck. I haven't said my age because I don't want to, but let's. Well, yeah, I'm gonna say it. Let me count. I'm 34 as well. Oh yeah, I got a bunch of plastic painting knives to use with the frisket, the drawing gum. I wanted this because I figured you can scrape it and do effects with it, but the plastic is going to be gentler on the paper and not necessarily leave a dent in your paper, but it's also very easy to remove the frisket from it. Yeah, I agree with the chat. Otto, you look You look really young. Like I was a bit surprised, but yeah. I'm glad to see that a lot of people in the chat are like 30s. Okay, and the rest from the package is origami paper. Let's hope I don't drop it in the paint. Oh, I'm a bit bummed. This is not super nice like Chiyogami paper or Yuzen paper. This is just printed on it. But I thought that like kaleidoscope's pattern was kind of great. But I've bought other papers from this brand, and they were, you know, the actual thing. This is really more for folding. It's not as nice, but it's still a fun pattern. So yeah, am I the only one who thinks that the PBO stuff stinks? Maybe not right next to the mic. And this one is pretty interesting patterns as well. Oh, I love the bird. This is so cute. I really like the patterns of origami paper. I think it's super inspiring to look at the colors and the shapes and the patterns. So that's why I have... Yeah, I know there is a difference between origami and Chiyogami and Yuzen, but it's just that I've bought other papers from this brand, and they were still sold for origami, but they were Chiyogami paper. So when I saw these, I was maybe hoping that they would be the more of the same kind of Chiyogami paper cut for origami as well, but still good, still pretty, and still made in Japan, so at least there's that. I always feel sad when I look at this and it's like made in China, and I'm like, well, okay. Yeah, this is a bit of a mess. Well, this one is not so bad because it just says folk art and it doesn't pretend to be anything else but origami. But this one is perhaps a bit more misleading because it says origami and then you have kaleidoscope series Yuzen florals. But the other sets I had bought were also like Yuzen something, but it was the nicer paper. So. And that's it for the box. It wasn't a big box. It was just a couple of things I needed, so yeah. So I ended up getting the wrong paper, so as far as needing the wrong paper, well, I'm not quite sure. Okay, this is dry. And it's good to go. I did the wrong. This goes there. This goes there. And my ass goes on the chair. Oh wow. I'm reading the chat. It's very interesting to read everyone's how they feel about their age. It's pretty interesting. I know that I always end up forgetting how the age I am. I don't feel anything really related to age unless I look online and then I see kids doing kid stuff and I'm like, what? Now I feel old again. But otherwise, I just try to get by, and it's like one day at a time, and then it's my birthday and I'm like, how old am I already? Ugh, can't be. The only thing I'm missing of being younger is that the body was less messed up a bit. Because, I mean, I used to be able to eat dairy and be okay and not have problems whenever I eat something that is not, I don't even know, like sometimes I eat stuff that I don't feel is any problem, but I still don't feel great after, and there is no real logic that is obvious to it. While I remember being younger and being able to just not really care about that stuff. How many pans will that fill? Depends on how much the paint shrinks when it dries, but that should be good for at least 5 to 6 pans, half pans, possibly. Maybe more if I'm lucky. So I will check how many containers I have left. I have 2 left, so I can do a total of 2 more mixes, or less, or I can stop now if you guys are bored of this. Oh, I'm glad you found Bun Bun, Cyan. He seems pretty mischievous. Wow, Temple, that's pretty amazing. So I gotta ask Malvina, how did you fix the way you were feeling a couple of years ago? Because Malvina is saying that she feels great now and she feels younger than she is, but that a couple of years ago she was in bad shape and had health problems, and it was something that made her feel old. So I think we all kind of want to know your secret. Okay, I have another problematic color. I'm pretty sure you remembered this mess. The crummy, weird primary blue from Sennelier. So I'm thinking I could perhaps mix a bit of, it's not stirred yet, there's a big deposit at the bottom. But perhaps I could take some of this, perhaps I could just take like the intense color at the top and not touch the deposit, which is possibly like chalk or something, and add some of this intense blue color with the green and the white. And maybe we will have some kind of tealy color perhaps. Does that seem possible? Oh, it's time for the mask again. Oh, hi Miranda. All right. I'm catching up on the chat. Oh, bye Mary. Thanks for being there. I hope you have a good night. I'm trying to catch up on the chat. Oh no, Otto. Well, maybe the wrinkles will just how to say? I'm looking for the proper word in English. Maybe it will like recover if you can stop coughing eventually, which you should at some point. Like being ill will and tired will make one feel old and possibly look older, but I'm pretty confident that once the sun and the health and everything comes back, you will feel better. Alright, so let's add some of the green and some of the blue gook. Should I go get my my scientist get up? Like the white coat and some green. I was really bummed that this didn't work out because it was quite a decent hue, but yeah, the texture is really off. Okay, so let's take a look at this. It still smells a bit like it did when I made it. Like the Sinelli binder smells a bit like yogurt for some reason, which since I can't eat yogurt anymore, it's kind of an off-putting smell for me now. I used to really love yogurt, but then I got intolerant to dairy protein or something, and I decided to stop eating it. But now I quite like soy yogurt, so yeah. And that was my story about yogurt. Sorry guys. Okay. Oh, bye, Cithalina. I hope I say your name right. Cithalina. Anyway, thank you so much for being there. Yeah, almond yogurt is great. Soy yogurt is great. Anything that is not dairy is fine by me. Coconut, but like the smell of dairy yogurt now kind of really upsets me. Well, the smell of most dairy things, to be honest. Hey, the blue doesn't show at all. Where is that blue gone? It's insane. It's just... What? Oh, and it's making a mess too. Because being like a stupid color is not enough, it has to make a mess as well. I'm afraid this one is gonna go right down in the bin. Like, this looks like it should leave some color, doesn't it? Like, it's kind of an intense blue. This is kind of cool. Nice. I feel like I'm decorating a cake. Question, so you wouldn't recommend Cinderly's binder? I have yet to try it with other pigments. It worked fine for the colors that were not weird, like for the yellow and the pink, but it's a bit weird and it smells weird. Like it does smell like fermented. I don't know if it's because mine has gone bad, but technically where is that blue gone? The white just ate it. It's gone. I don't understand what's going on. Wow. Oh, sorry. Unpleasant. Sorry. I would not recommend the binder unless you have nothing else, but keeping in mind to use it in a timely fashion, and also really focus on getting good pigments, because that blue is not good at all. Like it's terrible. What if I mix this? Or perhaps if I get the gook at the bottom, will it make a difference? At least it's not bubbly anymore. This is a sort of a last ditch attempt. If I can't rescue this blue, it's gonna go away. Well, at least the prepared mix I did. The pot of pigment is still somewhere in my stuff, but it doesn't really make me want to use it because it's so weak. I don't get it. Oh, Ariel, that's a really nice anecdote. Oh, hi, Scarlett. Oh, that's the doorbell again. Good day for art supplies. Yeah, but of course all the deliveries happen on the moment. I have is the stream down? No, it's still there. There's just not much going on the screen right now. So what should I do with this? Should I add more green into it? Because the blue is really not doing anything to this color. It's just vanishing. The vanishing blue. I will open the box when I can swatch this to let it dry, but I gotta make something out of this first, because this is not much. This is a bit like the light blue we had earlier, except for the amount of blue I put in there, this is really, really weak. My palette knife is all crusty with white. more green. Maybe I should try it. Let's give this one a try anyway. Maybe it's like when I mold Prussian blue and the blue is just hiding in the white, and when I mold it, it's gonna come out. It smells like yogurt. Ugh. It shouldn't smell like that when it's dry, it should be fine. But it's wet for now and my nose is right over it, so. If I put some red in there, it's gonna make a brown because there is too much green still. Doop-de-doo. Is it cost effective to make your own paints, or should you just buy them? It really depends. I don't think it's really a matter of how you plan your thing, because by making your own paints you can possibly sell the extra pans and sort of fund your palette in a way, but it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of trial and error, and there will be some losses also, like some batches of paint that just don't work out. And pigment is expensive, and the molar is expensive, and at some point, just to some level, also the gum arabic is expensive. So you really have to compare. It's really a matter of depending on how much you paint and your budget. And also, the only thing I would really advise is to avoid buying cheap paints. If you decide to buy paint because it's less expensive, make sure you compare with professional paints and don't use like student range paints or something of a lesser quality. And good quality doesn't have to be expensive. White Knight, Renaissance, they make great paints at a super affordable price. So depending on what's available to you, you can possibly find something great that is really affordable. Making your own paint will give you full control of some mixes, but then again, some pigments are really expensive. Like I was looking at quinacridone red, and it's like $23 for 4 ounces volume. So it's not like they have this jar that is half a cup, like the size is 4 ounces, and they just fill the jar. And what this weight in pigment is $23 worth. So it can be really expensive. Can you make mint out of it? Well, it's gonna be a minty color. I figured this is minty-ish, but it's not gonna be exactly like the mint color I've done before, because that was made with phthalo green. There is some phthalo green in there, but there's also the weird blue and some yellow from the failed sap green. There are so many lumps. Go away, you lumps. saying the cheapest option is to never even think about painting large paintings. That's sadly very true. Oh, cool. I'm glad that the blue is sort of showing. But it's really light, in my opinion, for the amount of blue that I dumped in there. It's really not a high tinting strength. It's really weak. But ultimately, if this color is nice and it dries fine, I'm happy. Because I don't really enjoy throwing away like pigment. Especially if there's a way to use it up for something. So I am seated now because, yeah. And it's not as efficient to mold, but it's better than pain. I'm really out of shape, guys. Like, I remember when I went to Switzerland a couple of years ago, and it felt like it would be so much easier to be healthy there for many reasons, like not just like the stuff you associate with America necessarily, but like I remember we went grocery shopping, and just the options available were healthier and the portions were decent. And like when you buy a bread, sliced bread, it wasn't like this huge loaf. It was a smaller loaf, and you just buy it fresh more frequently. But not having this, and the slices were smaller, and everything was sort of better proportion in general. And they had like the best plain soy yogurt there, and I miss it. But yeah, it was like, it's like the default size here is for a very active man. Like everything is sized so big that if you are like a smaller person and if you are a woman, everything is already too big and comes in portions that are insane. And it just drives me mad because I don't really see... And people tell you like, oh, put some in the freezer, and yeah, but then I end up having like some, you have only old stuff that is stale or frozen or has like the like the freeze bite, like, you know, when stuff is frozen for too long and it gets weird and it tastes of freezer, and then everything is huge and the quality is ugh. And I'm like, can we get smaller stuff of better quality as well? I don't want like 2 pounds of meat. I would prefer to have 200 grams of good meat and use that to add flavor to a meal, not make it the centerpiece of a meal. Anyway, food ramblings. Hey, hi Paulo. And Mary, no hablo español. I was about to say Gomen Nasai, but that's not Spanish. Oops. I quite like this mint color. It's pretty. It is a calming color, isn't it? I should just focus on the color instead of rambling madly about food. If you are cold and the heater is broken, you can definitely mold paint to warm yourself up. This is still a good exercise, and it is generating heat. And I really hope Well, I don't know how I'll do in the summer. I do not have AC. Oh, thanks, Otto. What do you say we swatch this one and see what color it is on paper, and then I can open the box. I'm lucky that I live in a basement, so in a way it sucks for light and it sucks for a lot of things, but it's pretty great in the summer because it stays cool, and even in the winter we don't have to eat as much because it's sort of insulated by everything. So that's pretty nice, but yeah, we still don't have AC, and the fact that we're in a basement doesn't help because we can't really put an AC box on the floor. It needs room to vent the water and all that, so. Okay, let's swatch this. Oh, that's nice. It's similar to the other one, but it's slightly cooler. It's pretty. Kind of a nice selection we had today. We had this blue, the first one, the darker one, then this lighter blue, then this matcha latte one, and then we have this minty one. Not bad. Oh, bye Zoe. Thanks for stepping by. Okay, box opening. Oh yeah. So, this box is from Curry's in Ontario, and I really like to order from them at times because they have stuff that I cannot find elsewhere. So I got a couple of new acrylic washes, the colors that I didn't have before and that I felt like my general palette was lacking. So there's light blue, olive, mustard, cerulean blue, and turquoise blue. Oh yeah, I remember what I got. They had this what was a clearance sale on the FW acrylic inks. Sorry, I'm fighting. And I quite like these acrylic inks, and since they were like really lower price and on clearance, I figured that it might be a good time to stock up on them while they still have them. Hopefully they will be still good and not all like this one is pretty separated at the bottom, but it should be able to bring it back. So I got olive green. Oh yeah, sparkly one, like this bright yellow sparkly one. I want to experiment with the acrylic inks see if I can add washes to paper and then have watercolors over them. Because technically, if you try to add watercolor over acrylic, it's not gonna hold well. But I've seen people do great things with diluting the acrylic inks and then being able to put watercolor over it. That's another yellow sparkly color. I got Scarlet, and I'm running out of space. Would you ever do a studio tour vid? Maybe not in this studio space. Maybe if maybe if one day I get a better studio space, I might. But this one is a bit embarrassing. First of all, this room in the apartment is kind of ugly, and this is marine blue. Oh yeah, the last one is kind of funny because it was a really good discount, so that's why I got quite a few colors. But there's a color I really wanted, and it was only available in, oh my gosh, hold on, no, in this size. Which is it's a bit ridiculous, so I really hope that the washes work and that I can put watercolor over them, because I'm stuck with a great big bottle of flame red ink. But yeah. The thing that's funny is that oh yeah, okay, it says the pigments on the bottle, so that's great. So yep. And then something really basic and inexpensive, but it's just a plastic box. I always try to get plastic boxes that are made in the US or in Canada, because I figured that it's at least closer and it doesn't have to like cross seas to get there. But I wanted some kind of box to store away more stuff, because as you can guess, I have stuff. Yeah. Yeah, the big bottle is 6 ounces, I think. Is that it? Yeah, 6 ounces, and the smaller ones are 1 ounce. Yeah. So, yep, that's that's a lot of ink. But it's a color I really like. I really like red, so yeah. That's what was in the box. Just gonna put that away for now. Although I saw you, what did you write? Yeah, by the way, yes, you can use diluted acrylic ink, then watercolor works fine as long as you break the acrylic binder. Oh yes, awesome. Awesome, awesome. Oh, bottle of what? A bottle of ink. This one. This is my hand, and this is the bottle. It's like six ounces of ink. It was on sale, guys, don't panic. I always try to get stuff when it's super discounted or on sale, or if I can use some kind of store credits to buy it. I figured that if I just can't resist the call of art supplies, well, I should at least try to get the good stuff when it's on sale, or as cheaply as possible. Not to get cheap stuff, to get the good stuff, but to wait for sales or coupons. Though there is not much coupon for the shops here, as far as I've seen, but they will often have sales, like maybe a couple of % off, or something better than just full price. And speaking of sales, Jackson's is having a sale on pencils. So if you are looking to buy pencils, now's a good time to check out Jackson's. I got a few more polychromos to help flesh out my selection of colors. There's still lumps. Do you guys see the lumps? Or is the camera too low for that? Like, this is pretty smooth, but sometimes you will see like a bit poking like that. I should make like a pastel collection and call it the ice cream collection. Because that's what these colors remind me of. Oh, ice cream. Though I'm pretty sure like if I were to eat the dairy stuff now, I'd just find it gross. But there are many vegan ice creams that are very delicious. So one of the best ice creams though is when you can freeze bananas, like ripe bananas, if you like bananas of course, and when they're frozen you blend them with a bit of cocoa, and since the bananas are ripe they are very sweet, so you don't really need to add anything more to this, and that gives you soft serve, like chocolate banana soft serve. So if you like banana, chocolate and soft serve ice cream, that's a pretty neat one for the summer. And I'm talking about food again. What's with all the lumps? Come on. What's this? These are like dry bits of paint or bits of white pigment. This is fun. Yippee! It's like, it's the closest I can get to, you know, playing with the fun textures of baking, but without actually baking anything. So, do you guys have plans for the weekend? As it is Friday. We are supposed to do taxes this weekend. Ugh. I wish it was simpler. You know, there's not a lot of reasons why it's so complicated to file taxes. Everyone has to do it. It's the same every year. It's always a headache. Why are apples by nature gross? Oh, GMOs. I read gross and I was like, why are they gross? They're pretty fine. Apples. Again, food. Always food. Okay, so let's check the swatch. I'm not a big alcohol drinker. It's not really my thing. I prefer tea. Oh, that's pretty good. Nothing. Also, these are quite smooth. Sometimes when you make your own paints, you realize that some pigments, they have like a gritty texture on the paper, even if the pigment stays on the paper. Like this Prussian green. It's a bit difficult because Prussian green will always kind of pick up a bit, but it is like grittier, it feels dusty a bit. But these colors with the white, they're very smooth on the paper. Oh, Temple, you're lucky that your taxes are done. Oh, that's pretty interesting. Temple is saying that the hubby is gonna work out a recipe to veganize pork adobo for them, subbing jackfruit. I've seen a lot of recipes using canned jackfruit to mimic pork. That's pretty interesting. Yikes. So our minty seafoam color is done. And I think that's gonna be it for today for me, as yikes, I'm sorry. There's still a stream tomorrow, so if I want to be able to talk tomorrow, not that this was very strenuous, but still, there will be the stream tomorrow, the Catch a Day live stream. If you guys have anything special you want me to do for the stream tomorrow, feel free to suggest it in the comments. Also, apparently you need the green jackfruit to make the pork substitute. I've never really eaten jackfruit, I think. It's not very popular around here, perhaps. I think I saw it in another grocery store on the island, but that was in a different, like, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't find a word, but the way the city is split up is you have like all these areas, and sometimes certain areas will have more of a certain culture, so all of the stores are more catering to that culture more. And there was a place before that was a bit more had a bit more like Asian stuff in general, so there, I think there we had some of the jackfruit, but it was the yellow kind, I think. An ice cream painting with cats. That's cute. That's really cute. Okay, so I need a pot. And I'm gonna So apparently the yellow jackfruit is ripe and the green one is unripe. That seems to be the case for a lot of fruits. Well, a lot of fruits that are supposed to be yellow in the end. thinking of mangoes and bananas, pineapple. An unripe pineapple is not super tasty. It's not the best. Same for any kind of unripe fruit though, right? Like a green banana is not ideal, and a green mango is generally not great. And that's another good pot. Good pot. So your cat is named Bunny. Do you have a bunny named Cat? Alrighty. So, yeah, just one last thing before I wash this off anyway. I need the spritzer. So since I have this last color on the slab, I will make a couple of swatches of it. So that if I end up, if the dry pan is good enough to put in the shop, I will have these sort of little swatches to include with the pans. So I just spritz some water, and over here I have already cut, sorry, there's a lot of stuff on this desk. I have a bunch of small cuts of paper that I just put on there. This one is thicker for some reason, but yeah. Sometimes it's like when I cut certain palettes, I have leftover paper, so I just put it in there, and I will use some of the smaller squares to make the dot samples. Aww. So Bunny the cat is named after Bugs Bunny because it's a short-haired gray and white cat. Oh, it's a lady. So is she more like Babs Bunny? Though I think Babs Bunny was more of a tan color. And also kind of a terrible movie. I often end up with more swatch cards than I have pans. So yeah. But this is a good way to pass up paper you like less and not throw away all the paint on the slab. So they curl up like this, and then you can sort of lift them and they give you a swatch of the color. And this is what I try to include with the orders. They will not always be the same size. That's something that happens because I have all sorts of paper tidbits, but yeah. And then the toughest part is finding some place to let them dry, which is a bit of a problem right now. So I will try to not spill water everywhere. Oh, I think this one was a double sheet. So yeah, that's pretty fun. Oh, bye Erin. Have a great weekend. So Temple is saying that they are into pastels too and would actually like a watercolor paint with a bit of texture in it for value on their painting. Oh, like the texture of the pigment. Huh. That's interesting. I don't really do pastels, so it's really not something I can what's the word I'm looking for? I can input some experience because I don't really have any. And thanks for stopping by, Erin. So yeah, I think I will call this done. Unless you guys have more questions about the process or anything. What's the taste of a platypus? So yeah, that's basically it, and we have our 4 colors for today, which really go well together, of course, because we started with the same basis for them. It's a bit like when you paint and you use the same color in all your mixes to have a bit of a cohesion. Thanks, Temple. I will have quite some cleaning up to do, but that's the usual way with these things. That's okay, Erin. I don't really know what kind of delay there is on the stream, but yeah. Alright, so have a great weekend everyone, and good evening, good night, good day, whichever one is appropriate for you, and I will post an update on the way these colors dried, possibly on Instagram. So if you want, or they won't be dry by tomorrow, so I won't be able to show you in the stream tomorrow, but I will post a picture on Instagram once they are dry, with perhaps the other pans. They don't take the same time to dry, all of them, so it's always kind of a, you put it in a pan and you just let it there to dry, and eventually it will be dry. Thank you very much for being there in this impromptu ASMR slash Darth Vader stream. And let me know if that's something you enjoyed. I might do some more like this in the future when I have like some kind of simple mulling to do and I want to reuse the paints on a slab. I could do this kind of exercise again, but with different colors, and we will get some different mixes. So yep, have a great weekend and thank you very much. Take care. Bye bye.